The space station floated like a silver jewel against the black sky. Ships from a dozen worlds docked at its ports, bringing diplomats and guards, and hope for peace. The Valor diplomatic station was neutral ground, a place where old enemies could meet without fear. Or so they said. Tae-hyun Kim stood at his post near the outer security corridor, his eyes scanning every face that passed. He had been a soldier for 12 years. He knew how to spot trouble, and right now, his instincts were screaming that something was wrong. "Stop looking so scary," Captain Hae-won Park said over the comm in his ear. "You're making the delegates nervous." Tae-hyun almost smiled. He couldn't help how he looked. He was tall for a human, with broad shoulders and arms marked with scars from old battles. His face was hard, his eyes dark and watchful. To the aliens walking past, he probably looked like exactly what they feared, a human warrior from Earth, a creature from a death world. The Valor delegates arrived in a flutter of silver robes and worried whispers. They were beautiful in a fragile way, with pale skin that seemed almost transparent, and large eyes that reflected too much light. They moved carefully, as if gravity itself might hurt them, and in the center of their group walked Princess Lyra. Tae-hyun had seen her picture in the mission briefing, but pictures didn't capture the way she carried herself. Despite her obvious fear of this place, she held her head high. Her silver hair fell past her shoulders like water. Her eyes were the color of ice, sharp and intelligent. Those same eyes found him across the corridor and widened with something close to terror. He understood. She was looking at a nightmare made real. Humans had fought the Valor Empire in the border wars 20 years ago. The Valor had lost thousands of their fragile people to human weapons and human strength. They had made peace because they had no choice, but they had never stopped being afraid. Princess Lyra turned quickly away, pulling her robes tighter around herself. She spoke rapidly to the tall male beside her, Chancellor Vren. According to Tae-hyun's briefing, the Chancellor glanced at Tae-hyun with cold eyes. "She doesn't want humans near her quarters," Hae-won's voice said in his ear. "Vren just filed an official complaint. Says the princess feels unsafe." Tae-hyun said nothing. He had expected this. He kept his position as the Valor delegation moved past, heading toward the diplomatic wing. Princess Lyra didn't look at him again, but he could see the tension in her shoulders. The next 3 days followed the same pattern. Tae-hyun maintained his post on the outer perimeter. The princess attended diplomatic meetings and cultural events, always surrounded by her own guards. When their paths crossed in the corridors, she would find a reason to turn away or take a different route. On the 4th day, Tae-hyun was moving equipment in the cargo bay when he heard light footsteps. He looked up to see Princess Lyra had entered by accident, probably taking a wrong turn. She froze when she saw him. He was holding a cargo container that weighed 200 kilograms. For him, it was heavy but manageable. For the Valor workers nearby, it required 3 people and a mechanized lifter. Lyra stared at him, at the muscles in his arms, at the way he held the massive container like it was nothing. Her face went even paler than usual. "Sorry," Tae-hyun said quietly, setting the container down carefully. "Didn't mean to startle you." She took 2 steps backward. Then she turned and walked quickly away, her silver robes swishing behind her. One of the Valor workers approached Tae-hyun nervously. "You must forgive the princess. She has been taught since childhood about the dangers of your kind." "I know," Tae-hyun said. "It's okay." But it wasn't really okay. He understood fear, but he hated being the cause of it. He had joined the military to protect people, not to scare them. That evening, Tae-hyun was reviewing security footage in the control room when something caught his attention. A maintenance crew had accessed the secondary docking bay at an odd hour. The crew's identification badges checked out, but their movements seemed wrong. Too careful, too aware of camera positions. He pulled up more footage from the past week. The same crew appeared 3 times, always at night, always in restricted areas that maintenance had no reason to visit. Tae-hyun's stomach tightened. He had felt this kind of wrong before, back during the war. It was the feeling that came just before an ambush. He reported his findings to Captain Hae-won, who promised to investigate. But Hae-won didn't seem worried. "Maintenance crews go everywhere," she said. It's probably nothing. Taehyun wasn't convinced. He started keeping his own log of suspicious activity. On the 6th day, the formal dinner brought together all the delegations. Taehyun stood guard at the entrance to the Great Hall, watching elegant aliens in beautiful clothes talk and laugh. The room glowed with soft light. Musicians played strange, haunting melodies. Princess Lyra sat at the head table, speaking with a group of diplomats. She wore a gown that shimmered like starlight. For a moment, she looked happy, relaxed even. Then a server carrying a tray of crystal glasses stumbled near her table. Taehyun moved without thinking. He crossed the room in 4 long strides, reaching Lyra just as the tray fell. Broken glass exploded across the floor. Taehyun stepped between the princess and the danger, feeling sharp edges cut into his hands and forearms as he swept the worst of it away. The hall went silent. Lyra stared up at him, her ice-colored eyes huge. Blood ran down Taehyun's arms, dripping onto the white floor. The cuts weren't deep, but there were many of them. "Are you hurt?" he asked her quietly. She shook her head slowly, unable to speak. Medical staff rushed over, but Taehyun waved them away. "I'm fine. Check the princess." "You're bleeding," Lyra said, finding her voice. It was softer than he expected, with a musical accent. "It's nothing," Taehyun said. "Just some cuts." Chancellor Vren appeared, pulling Lyra to her feet. "Come, Your Highness. Away from this situation." But Lyra was still looking at Taehyun, at his bleeding hands, at his face, which showed no pain even though those cuts would have sent a Valor to the hospital. "You protected me," she said, as if she couldn't quite believe it. "That's my job," Taehyun replied. The Chancellor pulled her away. But as she left, Princess Lyra looked back over her shoulder. The fear in her eyes had changed into something else. Something like confusion. That night, reviewing the security footage of the incident, Taehyun noticed something. The server, who had dropped the tray, had been clumsy. Yes. But in the confusion, 2 people in the background had moved with purpose toward the restricted hallways. He enhanced the image. Same maintenance crew from before. Taehyun's hands, now bandaged, tightened into fists. Something bad was coming to this station. He could feel it in his bones. And Princess Lyra, whether she trusted him or not, was right in the center of the danger. The morning after the dinner incident, Taehyun submitted a detailed report to Captain Hae-won about the suspicious maintenance crew. He included timestamps, photos, and his concerns about security breaches. Hae-won read it carefully, then sighed. "Taehyun, you're seeing threats everywhere. The summit is making everyone paranoid." "I'm not paranoid," he said. "I'm careful. There's a difference. The maintenance crew has been background checked 3 times. They're clean." Hae-won leaned back in her chair. "Look, I know you're good at your job, but sometimes a maintenance crew is just a maintenance crew." Taehyun left the office unsatisfied. His instincts had kept him alive through 2 wars. He wasn't going to ignore them now. 2 days later, a power fluctuation forced the station to relocate several delegations temporarily. The Valor group, including Princess Lyra, was moved to quarters near the human section. Chancellor Vren complained loudly, but the station commander had no choice. The diplomatic wing needed repairs. Taehyun's quarters were 3 doors down from the princess's temporary rooms. That evening, he was in the small hydroponics garden that the human crew maintained. It was his quiet place, where he could forget about security and danger for a while. The smell of earth plants always calmed him. He was watering a small rose bush when he sensed someone watching. Princess Lyra stood at the garden entrance, half hidden behind the doorframe. When their eyes met, she looked embarrassed, as if she'd been caught doing something wrong. "Sorry," she said quickly. I've never seen plants from Earth before." "It's okay," Taehyun said. "You can come in. They won't bite." She hesitated, then stepped inside slowly. She kept her distance from him, but her eyes were drawn to the green growing things. "They're beautiful. We don't have plants like this on Valor. Our world is colder. Everything grows slowly." "These are hardy species," Taehyun said, touching the rose leaves gently. "Earth is a tough place. Everything there learns to survive, including humans, Lyra said quietly. He glanced at her. Yes. She moved closer to the roses, careful not to get too near him. I've been taught my whole life that humans are dangerous, that your world made you into killers. Tae-hyun said nothing. What could he say? Earth was a death world by galactic standards. Higher gravity, aggressive weather, predators everywhere. Humans had evolved to be tough because they had no choice. But you read poetry, Lyra said suddenly. He blinked. What? Yesterday, I saw you in the common room. You were reading a book. It was poetry, wasn't it? Korean verses. Tae-hyun felt his face grow warm. You were watching me? Now she looked embarrassed. I didn't mean to spy. I was just trying to understand. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? A monster, she said honestly. Someone who only knew violence. She touched one of the rose petals carefully. But monsters don't grow flowers. They don't call their sisters every day to make sure they're eating properly. You really were watching, Tae-hyun said, not sure whether to be annoyed or amused. I'm sorry, I know it's wrong, but my whole world is built on fear of yours, and nothing makes sense anymore. She looked at him directly for the first time. You got hurt protecting me. You could have let that glass fall. No one would have blamed you. But you didn't even hesitate. Like I said, it's my job. Is it your job to refuse medical treatment for wounds that would hospitalize one of my people? She asked. He shrugged. They're just cuts. Humans heal fast. That's what terrifies us, Lyra said softly. You heal from things that would kill us. You're strong enough to break us without trying. You feel less pain. You're built for war. Maybe, Tae-hyun said. But that doesn't mean we want war. Before she could answer, his communicator beeped. A message from Sang-ho, one of the maintenance workers he'd befriended. Need to talk. Private. Urgent. Tae-hyun looked at Lyra. I have to go. But... He reached over and carefully cut one of the roses, wrapping the stem in protective cloth. Here, be careful of the thorns. She took the flower with both hands, staring at it like it was precious. Thank you. Even tough things can be beautiful, he said. Remember that. Tae-hyun met Sang-ho in a quiet storage room. The young maintenance worker looked nervous, constantly checking the door. What's wrong? Tae-hyun asked. Those people you asked me about. The maintenance crew that's been going to restricted areas? Sang-ho pulled out his tablet. I checked the logs like you asked. They're accessing systems they shouldn't touch. Life support controls. Security protocols. And look at this. He showed Tae-hyun a schematic. They've been mapping the station's emergency systems. Tae-hyun's blood ran cold. Someone's planning an attack. I think so. But I don't know who or when. Sang-ho's hands shook. I'm scared, Tae-hyun. If they find out I'm sharing this, they won't. You're doing the right thing. Tae-hyun copied the data. I need you to keep watching. But be careful. Don't take any risks. A 1-2 risks. After Sang-ho left, Tae-hyun spent 3 hours analyzing the data. The pattern was clear now. The unauthorized crew was preparing to disable specific security systems and create blind spots in the station's sensors. They were planning something big, but who was the target? Over the next few days, something shifted between Tae-hyun and Princess Lyra. They began having conversations in the corridors. Brief exchanges that grew longer each time. She asked him about Earth, about his sister Ji-woo, about what it was like growing up on a world where everything was trying to kill you. He asked her about Valor, about her duties as a princess, about the pressure of representing her people at such an important summit. I'm afraid all the time, she admitted one evening. They were in the observation deck, watching stars drift past the windows. Afraid I'll say the wrong thing. Afraid the peace treaty will fail. Afraid of... She glanced at him. Well, you know, me. He finished. Not anymore, she said quietly. Now I'm afraid of not understanding. You've spent your whole life being strong. I've spent mine being told I'm fragile. What does that make us? Different, Taehyun said. But difference doesn't have to mean enemies. She smiled, and it transformed her face. No, it doesn't. That night, Taehyun finally put all the pieces together. The suspicious crew, the disabled security systems, the mapping of emergency protocols. He knew when the attack would happen during the treaty signing ceremony in 3 days, when every important delegate would be in one room. And he knew the target. The attack was meant to look like human aggression. Kill the Valor princess, blame humanity, restart the war. He tried to warn Captain Haewon again. This time she listened, but the wheels of bureaucracy turned slowly. She needed to verify his information. She needed to consult with Station Command. She needed approval to increase security. We don't have time for all that, Taehyun said urgently. We can't just lock down the station based on suspicion, Haewon replied. Give me 24 hours to build a proper case. Taehyun left her office with a sick feeling in his stomach. 24 hours might be too long. He found Lyra in the garden again, tending to the rose bush. She looked up when he entered, and her smile faded. What's wrong? I can't explain right now. But I need you to trust me. He moved closer. Urgent. At the ceremony, stay close to me. If anything happens, anything at all, you run when I tell you to run. Fear flickered in her eyes, but she nodded. I trust you. Those 3 words hit him harder than any weapon ever had. Good, he said. Because I think something bad is coming. And I'm going to do everything I can to keep you safe. The treaty signing ceremony was scheduled for midday. The Great Hall had been decorated with flowers and banners from a dozen worlds. Delegates filled the seats, dressed in their finest clothes. At the center table, Princess Lyra sat beside the Valor Emperor's representative, ready to sign the historic document that would end decades of tension. Taehyun stood near the wall, his eyes constantly moving. He had checked and rechecked every entrance, every vent, every possible security weakness. Sang-ho had passed him one final piece of information this morning. The suspicious crew had been spotted near the hall's upper access tunnels. Captain Haewon had finally agreed to increase security, but she still thought Taehyun was overreacting. Extra guards were posted, but not enough. Never enough. The ceremony began with speeches. The Valor representative spoke about healing old wounds. The human ambassador talked about building bridges between worlds. Princess Lyra listened carefully, her hands folded in her lap. Once, her eyes found Taehyun across the room, and he saw the question there. Are we safe? He wished he could tell her yes. The explosion came during the treaty reading. The upper gallery burst apart in fire and smoke. Debris rained down on the screaming delegates. Taehyun was already moving, his body reacting before his mind finished processing. He ran toward Lyra's table, as armed figures dropped from the shattered gallery. Krell mercenaries. 6 of them. Maybe more in the smoke. They wore armor and carried plasma weapons. And they were heading straight for the princess. Taehyun reached her first. Down! He pushed her under the table as plasma bolts scorched the air where she'd been sitting. The other delegates scattered, running for the exits. Security alarms screamed. Emergency doors began to close. One of the mercenaries aimed at the table. Taehyun grabbed a chair and threw it with all his strength. On Earth, the chair would have been heavy wood. Here, in the station's lower gravity, it flew like a missile. It hit the mercenary hard enough to knock him down. Stay under there, Taehyun shouted at Lyra. He grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and returned fire. 2 mercenaries went down. But more were coming. A plasma bolt caught Taehyun in the shoulder. Pain exploded through him, hot and terrible. He felt his shirt burn, smelled his own flesh cooking. Any other species would have been screaming, dying. Taehyun's body flooded with adrenaline, and he kept moving. He pulled Lyra from under the table. Run. Now. They ran for the side exit, but a mercenary blocked their path. Taehyun didn't slow down. He hit the armored figure with his full weight. And they went down together. The mercenary was strong, but Taehyun was human. He was built for higher gravity, evolved from predators. He fought with a savagery that made the mercenary's eyes go wide with fear. Tae-hyun took the mercenary's weapon and kept moving. His shoulders screamed with pain. But pain didn't matter. Getting Lyra to safety mattered. This way. He pulled her down a side corridor. Behind them, more explosions rocked the hall. The mercenaries were destroying everything, making sure this treaty would never be signed. 2 more mercenaries appeared ahead of them. Tae-hyun pushed Lyra behind him and raised the captured weapon. He took a plasma bolt to the leg but didn't fall. He returned fire, dropping both targets. His leg felt like it was filled with broken glass, but he forced himself to walk. "You're hurt," Lyra said, her voice breaking. "You're bleeding so much. Not important right now." Tae-hyun's vision was starting to blur. He'd been hit 3 times now. His body could take more damage than most species. But even humans had limits. They reached a panic room, a reinforced safe space meant for exactly this kind of emergency. Tae-hyun opened it with his security code. Shoved Lyra inside. "Lock it from the inside," he said. "Don't open it for anyone, except Captain Haewon, or me." "What?" "No." Lyra grabbed his arm. "You're coming in too." "I can't. There are people still trapped out there. The delegates, the guards, the staff." He could hear weapons fire echoing through the corridors. "I have to help them." "You'll die." Tears ran down her face. "Look at you. You can barely stand." "I'll be fine." It was a lie. They both knew it. "I promise I'll come back." "Don't make promises you can't keep," she whispered. "Lyra." He met her eyes. Those ice-colored eyes that had once looked at him with such fear. "I don't know how to not help people. It's who I am. Please understand." She pulled him down and kissed his forehead, her lips cool against his burning skin. "Please don't die out there. Please." "I won't," he said. And this time, he meant to keep that promise. He sealed her inside the panic room and turned back toward the battle. His body wanted to quit. His shoulder was numb, his leg barely worked, and he'd lost a lot of blood. But Tae-hyun had trained his whole life to push past pain, past fear, past the voice that said, "Give up." He found Captain Haewon pinned down by 2 mercenaries in the main corridor. He came up behind them, silent despite his injuries, and took them both out before they knew he was there. "Tae-hyun." Haewon stared at him. "You look like death." "Yeah. Well, I feel worse." He handed her one of the captured weapons. "The princess is safe. Panic room 7. How many hostiles left?" "At least 4, maybe 5. They've taken over the control room." Haewon grabbed his good arm to steady him. "You need medical attention now." After we stop them, together, they fought their way toward the control room. Other security personnel joined them, human guards, who had survived the initial assault. Taehyun's world had narrowed to simple things. Aim, shoot, move forward, don't stop, don't fall. A mercenary jumped him from a side corridor. They fought hand to hand, and Tae-hyun felt ribs crack his or the mercenaries. He wasn't sure. Didn't matter. He won. He always won, because losing meant people died. The final confrontation was at the control room door. 3 mercenaries, heavily armed, making their last stand. Tae-hyun took point, using his body as a shield for the others. He felt another plasma bolt hit him, this time in the side. Felt his legs finally give out, but not before he took down the last mercenary. The station fell quiet, except for alarms and the sound of fire suppression systems. Haewon called for medical teams. Tae-hyun lay on the floor, looking up at the ceiling. His body felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. "The princess," he said. His voice sounded strange. "Check on her." "We will." "Stay still, you idiot." "Medical is coming." Tae-hyun wanted to laugh, but his chest hurt too much. He'd done it. Lyra was safe. The delegates were safe. The mercenaries were stopped. His eyes closed. He heard running footsteps, shouting voices. Then someone was screaming his name, a voice he recognized. Lyra's voice, full of terror. "No, no, no, Tae-hyun, stay awake. Please stay awake. He tried to answer, but darkness was pulling him down. The last thing he felt was her cool hand touching his face, and the last thing he heard was her crying, then nothing. The medical bay was too bright and too quiet. Machines beeped steadily, measuring life in electronic pulses. Princess Lyra sat in a chair beside Taehyun's bed, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes red from crying. He had been unconscious for 2 days. The human doctor, a woman named Yuna Choi, had explained his injuries in careful terms. Plasma burns to the shoulder and side, fractured ribs, damaged leg, severe blood loss. The doctor spoke calmly, but Lyra could see the worry in her eyes. Any other species would have died from the first hit, Dr. Choi said. But humans, we're stubborn. We have redundant organs, incredible healing capacity. His body is fighting hard, but will he live? Lyra asked. I believe so, but it will take time. Chancellor Vren had come to take Lyra back to her quarters several times. Each time, she refused to leave. She couldn't leave. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Taehyun falling, saw all that blood. Heard him promise he would come back. He had kept that promise, but barely. The station was still in chaos. The attack had killed 12 people and injured dozens more. The Krell Dominion was denying involvement. But everyone knew the truth. The mercenaries had been hired to destroy the peace process, to make it look like humans had attacked the Valor delegation. Instead, a human had saved the Valor princess's life. News of Taehyun's actions had spread across the galactic networks. Video footage showed him fighting through impossible odds, taking hits that should have killed him, refusing to stop until everyone was safe. Lyra had watched the footage once and then refused to watch again. Seeing him get hurt, over and over, was too painful. On the 3rd day, Taehyun's sister Jiwoo arrived from Earth. She was smaller than her brother, with kind eyes and worry written across her face. She and Lyra met outside the medical bay. You must be Princess Lyra, Jiwoo said. Taehyun talked about you in his messages. He did? Lyra was surprised. He said you were brave, smart, that you were trying to build peace even though it scared you. Jiwoo looked toward the medical bay. That's the kind of person my brother respects. They sat together beside Taehyun's bed. Jiwoo held her brother's hand and talked to him, even though he couldn't hear. She told him about their mother's garden, about the neighbors asking when he'd visit, about how proud everyone was of him. He's always been like this, Jiwoo said to Lyra. When we were kids, older boys used to bully me. Taehyun would step in front of me, take the hits, never back down. He came home bloody so many times. She smiled sadly. Our mother used to cry and bandage him up, and ask why he couldn't just walk away. He'd say, because she's my sister, I'm supposed to protect her. Lyra felt tears on her cheeks. He said something similar to me. He said he didn't know how to not help people. That's Taehyun. It's his greatest strength and his biggest weakness. Jiwoo looked at Lyra. He cares about you. I can tell, the way he described you, the way his voice changed when he said your name. I was so afraid of him at first, Lyra admitted. I thought humans were monsters. I was taught to fear your strength, your violence. But he showed me that strength can protect instead of destroy. That violence has a place when it's used to defend others. Dr. Choi entered to check Taehyun's vital signs. His healing is progressing well. The burns are closing. The ribs are knitting. His body is doing exactly what human bodies do, surviving against the odds. When will he wake up? Jiwoo asked. When his body is ready. Could be hours, could be days. But I'm optimistic. That evening, Chancellor Vren came again. This time, he didn't try to take Lyra away. Instead, he sat down across from her with a heavy sigh. The Valor Council wants me to thank the human, he said. Officially, they're planning a ceremony. He doesn't care about ceremonies, Lyra said. I know, but we do. Vren looked at Taehyun's still form. I was wrong about humans. I thought your species was nothing but dangerous animals. I didn't understand that predators can choose to protect instead of hunt. He's more than a predator, Lyra said quietly. He's a person. They all are. Yes, Vren said. I'm beginning to see that. Late that night, Lyra was alone with Taehyun again. She had sent Jiwoo to rest, promising to call if anything changed. The medical bay was dim, peaceful. Outside the window, stars drifted past like distant dreams. Lyra had been holding everything inside for days. Now, in the quiet darkness, it all came pouring out. I don't know if you can hear me, she said, holding his hand carefully. But I need to tell you something. I was wrong about your kind. About you. You're not monsters. You're not dangerous. Not in the way I thought. Yes, you're strong. Yes, you can hurt. But you use that strength to protect. You endure pain so others don't have to. She touched his bandaged shoulder gently. You're beautiful in ways I never understood. Brave. Kind. Stubborn. She laughed through tears. So stubborn. You promised you'd come back, and you did, even though it almost killed you. Lyra pulled out the rose he had given her. She'd kept it in water, preserved it carefully. It was starting to wilt now, but it was still beautiful. You told me that even tough things can be beautiful. I think I understand now. You're from a world that tried to kill you at every turn, and instead of becoming cruel, you became protective. Your world made you strong, but you chose to make yourself kind. She set the rose on the table beside his bed. Please wake up. I have so much more I want to talk to you about. So many things I want to understand. I want to see Earth. I want to meet your mother. I want to learn about poetry and gardens, and all the things that make you who you are. The machines kept beeping. Taehyun didn't move. Please, she whispered. The night passed. Morning came. Jiwoo returned with breakfast that neither of them could eat. Dr. Choi did her rounds. Time moved slowly, measured in heartbeats and breaths. Then, on the 5th day, Taehyun's eyes opened. They were unfocused at first, confused. He blinked several times, looking at the ceiling, at the medical equipment, at his bandaged body. Then his eyes found Lyra, and clarity returned. Is she safe? His voice was rough, barely a whisper. Lyra started crying. Yes. Yes. I'm safe. You made sure of it. Good. He tried to sit up and groaned in pain. What about the others? The delegates? The staff? All safe because of you, Jiwoo said, appearing at his other side. You big idiot. You scared me half to death. Sorry, Jiwoo. Taehyun smiled weakly. Tried to be careful. Tried to be careful. You got shot 4 times. Could have been 5. Lyra laughed and cried at the same time. She held his hand tighter, afraid that if she let go, he might disappear. You promised you'd come back. I keep my promises, he said. His eyes met hers, dark and warm. Always. Dr. Choi rushed in, alerted by the change in vital signs. She checked him over, asked questions, made notes. Finally, she smiled. Welcome back to the living. You gave us all quite a scare. How long was I out? Taehyun asked. 5 days. He looked surprised. That's longer than I expected. You were dead for 2 minutes during surgery, Dr. Choi said bluntly. Your heart stopped. We brought you back. So yes, it took a while to recover. Taehyun absorbed this information quietly. Then he looked at Lyra. You stayed here the whole time? She nodded, not trusting her voice. Why? Because, she said softly, you risked everything for me. The least I could do was be here when you woke up. He smiled, and even through the pain and exhaustion, it transformed his face. Thank you. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just being together. Just being alive. Outside, the universe continued its endless dance. But in that quiet medical bay, 2 people from different worlds found something neither had expected. Hope. 2 months passed like a dream. The Valor diplomatic station had been repaired and strengthened. The peace treaty had been signed, with additional security and renewed commitment from all parties. The Krell Dominion faced sanctions from the galactic community for their role in the attack. Justice was slow but steady. Tae-hun spent 6 weeks in recovery. His body healed faster than the doctors expected, but even human resilience had limits. The burns left scars, pale lines across his shoulder and side. His legs still ached sometimes when he walked, but he was alive, and that was what mattered. Princess Lyra visited him every day. At first, they talked about simple things, the weather patterns on their homeworlds, favorite foods, childhood memories. But as the days passed, the conversations grew deeper. They talked about fear and courage, about duty and choice, about what it meant to bridge the gap between such different species. My people are changing their minds about humans, Lyra said one afternoon. They were in the hydroponics garden, watching the earth plants grow. The footage of you fighting, protecting everyone. It spread across our networks. People are calling you a hero. I'm not a hero, Tae-hyun said. I just did what anyone should do. But not everyone would have done it. Not everyone would have taken those hits. Not everyone would have kept fighting when their body was screaming at them to stop. She touched one of the roses carefully. That's what makes you special. You choose to protect, even when it costs you everything. Tae-hyun was quiet for a moment. On Earth, we have a saying, heavy is the head that wears the crown. I think it's the same for people who choose to protect others. It's heavy, it hurts, but someone has to carry it. You don't have to carry it alone, Lyra said softly. He looked at her, really looked at her. Somewhere along the way, she had stopped being the frightened princess who couldn't bear to look at him. She had become his friend. Maybe more than his friend. What are you saying? He asked. I'm saying. She took a deep breath. I'm saying that when I return to Valor, I want you to come with me. As my personal security chief. As my advisor. She hesitated. As someone I trust more than anyone else. Tae-hyun's heart raced. Lyra. That would mean leaving Earth. Leaving my sister. Leaving everything I know. Kryma. I know. I'm asking you to give up your whole world for mine. It's not fair. She looked down at her hands. But I'm asking anyway. Because I think you could do more good on Valor than anywhere else. You could help change how my people see humans. You could be a bridge between our worlds. A bridge, he repeated. Yes. Isn't that what you've always been? Someone who stands between danger and the people who need protection? This would be the same. Just on a bigger scale. Captain Hae-won found Tae-hyun later that evening, staring out the observation window at the stars. She stood beside him in comfortable silence for a while before speaking. She made you the offer, didn't she? How did you know? Because I made the recommendation. The Valor government asked me for advice on hiring a security chief for the princess. I told them there was only one person I'd trust with her life. Hae-won smiled. You've been looking for purpose since the war ended. Maybe this is it. What about Earth? What about the service? Earth will always be there. And your service to humanity doesn't end just because you're on a different world. If anything, this might be more important than anything you've done before. Hae-won put a hand on his shoulder. But it's your choice. No one will blame you if you say no. That night, Tae-hyun called his sister. Ji-woo appeared on the video screen, smiling until she saw his serious expression. What's wrong? She asked immediately. Nothing's wrong, but I need to talk to you about something important. He told her about Lyra's offer, about the opportunity to work on Valor, about what it would mean. Ji-woo listened carefully. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled, and there were tears in her eyes. You're going to say yes, aren't you? I don't know. It means I won't see you as often. I won't be there if you need me. Tae-hyun, you've been protecting me since we were kids. You've put your life on hold for me more times than I can count. Don't you think it's time you did something for yourself? This isn't for me, it's for For her. For peace. For building something better. Jiwoo leaned closer to the screen. But it's also for you. I see how you talk about her. I see how you light up when she's around. You care about her. Maybe more than just care. Jiwoo, go be a bridge, big brother. That's what you do best. Build connections. Protect people. Make the universe a better place. She wiped her eyes. I'll miss you terribly, but I'm so proud of you. I love you, he said. I love you too. Now go tell that princess yes before she thinks you're going to say no. 3 days later, Taehyun met Princess Lyra in the hydroponics garden one last time before she had to return to Valor. She looked nervous, her hands twisting together. You wanted to see me? He said. Yes, I wanted to. I need to know. She took a breath. I need to know your answer. About coming to Valor. I understand if you say no. It's a lot to ask. But I had to know before I left. Taehyun stepped closer. You showed me that fear is just ignorance wearing armor. When you first saw me, you saw a monster. But you pushed past that fear. You learned. You changed. That takes real courage. I had a good teacher, she said softly. No, you did that yourself. And in doing that, you taught me something too. You taught me that strength without purpose is just violence. That protecting people isn't about being the toughest or the strongest. It's about being willing to stand between danger and those who need help, no matter the cost. So, is that a yes? He smiled. Yes. I'll come to Valor. I'll be your security chief, your advisor, your friend. I'll help build that bridge between our worlds. Lyra's face transformed with joy. She stepped forward and hugged him, careful of his still healing injuries. He held her gently, amazed at how far they'd come from that first terrified look in the corridor. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for showing me that different doesn't mean dangerous. Thank you for seeing past the monster, he replied. The departure day arrived with mixed emotions. The human delegation gathered to see Taehyun off. Captain Hae-won presented him with a commendation medal. Sang-ho gave him a gift, seeds from earth plants, so he could grow a garden on Valor. For when you miss home, Sang-ho said. Jiwoo was there too. Having stayed on the station for the farewell, she hugged her brother tightly. Call me every week. And eat properly. And don't get shot anymore. I'll try, he promised. I mean it. No more dying. You've used up your quota. He laughed. Okay. No more dying. As the Valor ship prepared for departure, Taehyun stood with Princess Lyra at the viewing port. They watched the station grow smaller. Watched Earth's sun become just another point of light among billions. Are you scared? Lyra asked. Terrified, he admitted. I'm going to a world where I don't speak the language. Don't know the customs. Where I'll be the strange one. Now you know how I felt coming here. She took his hand, her cool fingers intertwining with his. But you won't be alone. I'll help you. Just like you helped me. Taehyun looked at their joined hands. Human and Valor. Warm and cool. Strong and delicate. Different in every way, but somehow fitting together perfectly. What do you think will happen? He asked. With us, I mean. With our worlds. I don't know, Lyra said honestly. Change is slow. There will still be people who fear humans. There will still be people who don't trust Valor. But we'll show them a different way. We'll prove that cooperation is stronger than fear. A bridge between stars, he said. Yes, a bridge between stars. The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, and the stars stretched into lines of light. Taehyun felt the strange pull of acceleration, felt the weight of his choice settling into his bones. He was leaving everything he knew, stepping into an uncertain future. But as he looked at Lyra beside him, he knew it was the right choice. Not because it was easy. Not because he was certain it would work. But because some things were worth the risk. Some bridges were worth building, no matter how impossible they seemed. He had spent his whole life being strong, being tough, being the warrior who never broke. But maybe the truest strength wasn't in fighting. Maybe it was in reaching across the darkness between worlds and saying, "Let's try to understand each other." Maybe it was in being willing to change, to grow, to become something new. Outside the window, the universe continued its endless dance. Inside the ship, two people from impossibly different worlds stood together, watching the stars. Neither knew exactly what the future held. But for the first time in a long time, they both dared to hope. Because the bravest thing you can do isn't to fight. It's to trust. It's to look at someone completely different from you and choose to see them as they are, not as you fear they might be. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, they'll look back at you and see the same thing. A person. A friend. A bridge between worlds. A future worth building together.